Hello, beautiful people. I hope that wherever you are in the world, that you are doing well and that you are taking care of yourselves. I'm Chris Danker, and this is Let the Adventure Begin. Let the Adventure Begin with Chris Danker podcast. Hi, welcome to episode 157, Instructions for Living a Life. In her poem, Sometimes, Mary Oliver gives some profound yet simple instructions for living a life. In one stanza, she says, instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. So that's what I'm going to dive into today, each of these three pieces of instruction that Mary Oliver gives for living a life. So the first one is to pay attention. A lot of times we go on autopilot and we don't pay attention to what's going on around us. So we need to think about our senses to pay attention to what's going on. And a lot of us don't really do that. And so this is an exercise that I would like to invite you to do involving all five of your senses. So if you are sitting in a place where you can do this right now, that would be amazing. Otherwise, if you can't, that's okay too. Just come back when you do have time to be able to do this exercise. And this is one that I have done through my guided meditation using the Calm app. And so I just wanted to share it with you because it allows us to really pay attention to what's going on around us. So the first one, what do you see? Name 5 things around you that you currently see. What can you touch? Name 4 things around you that you can touch. What do you hear? Name 3 things that you can currently hear going on around you. What do you smell? Name 2 things that you can smell. And what can you taste? Name 1 thing that you can taste right now. And you can probably notice with the questions and going through each of the answers that even though you're naming fewer things, it gets more complicated. Like all of us can name 5 things that we can see if we have our vision. If we can hear, it's easy to name 4 things that we can hear. But it gets a little trickier when we get down to, what we can touch, naming 4 things that we can touch. But then it gets a little trickier when it gets down to what can we hear with 3 things, what can we smell with 2 things, and then what can we taste with 1 thing. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge, but even sitting for a few minutes to complete this exercise allows us to pay more attention. And I have an example of this recently. At my middle school, where I am a middle school counselor, we do something called Jumpstart. And it is a time for our incoming 6th graders who will be new to our building, or any 7th or 8th graders that are new to our district. Gives them a chance to come in for like a bit of a crash course. Our principal does a welcome, and then there are 5 different stations. And the stations might be a quick tour of the building. It might be understanding how the lunch protocols, the processes work. It might be like understanding how the library works. So different things having to do with our school. And the session that our other counselor and I ran was on expectations and ways that we celebrate our students throughout the year. And it hit a point where she did the first half and I did the second half of the presentation. And so I would observe kids. And so then I would talk to them about, all of you were being very respectful. How did I know that you were being respectful? And so then kids would say something like, my eyes were on the speaker. Very good. I love kids who talk about eye contact right away. They might say, I wasn't messing around with my friends. I was, making sure that I was quiet. Also very good. Some kids will get a little more abstract and say, well, I was listening. And I kind of challenge that because how do I know that you were listening? You can look like you're listening, but you might actually be thinking about what you're going to be having for lunch or if you're going to hang out with your friends in the afternoon. So I challenged them to express to me, how would I know that you're paying attention? And some kids, said, well, when an adult was speaking, I might have nodded my head. Bingo. Or if a question was being asked, raising your hand to answer the question, that shows that you were listening. Or if you didn't quite understand, you might raise your hand and ask a question. So those are all ways of paying attention and listening. And I love the fact that, we could do a deeper dive when we're thinking about when we say, oh, I was listening, but how do we know? Well, we were paying attention to those different things that were going on around us as to be more active instead of being passive. So paying attention is really big when it comes to, living a life. It's paying attention to things that are going on around us. The second one is to be astonished. Astonished is defined as surprise or impress greatly. So my question to you is, what surprises you? Sometimes as we get older, we have an attitude of, I've been there, done that. As if we've all seen it all and we can't be astonished anymore. But I hate to break it to you, but none of us is remotely close to seeing it all. We've just been given up, or we have just given up on being astonished. So we have to figure out ways to kind of to create that a sense of maybe adventure, of wanting to be astonished instead of having that curmudgeonly attitude of, I've been there, done that. So recently I decided to lie on the floor with my 6-month-old granddaughter to see the world through her eyes. And I looked at the world. As we looked up, I noticed, from the floor, the ceiling is so far away. And I felt and heard Callie, their chocolate lab, walk by us. I heard her nails clip-clopping on the floor. She was flapping her ears and she was wandering by. And so I could hear her. I could feel her proximity to us. Suddenly our view was claimed by her older brothers, who got in both of our faces wondering what, Mimi was doing while Shyla was lying on the floor. You don't have to have a grandchild in order to lie on the floor. You can lie on the floor. You can lie in the grass, look up at the sky, see what's going on around you. Be astonished, be just in awe of the beauty of the nature that is our world. You could sit in an alternative chair at dinner to get a different viewpoint. You can sit in a park on a bench and just marvel at what is happening around you. It's astonishing. Last but not least, tell about it. Now, before you go running to social media, Facebook, Threads, X, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever social media you use, WhatsApp, don't. I just want to challenge you to don't go to social media. When I'm saying telling about it, your voice is meant to be heard. Have a conversation with someone. Verbally, talk to someone on the phone. Not texting, on the phone. Have a conversation in person with someone. Going for a walk. Having a chat about some of your experiences recently. You'll be astonished at what that does for you. And if you don't have that, you can write about it. Write someone shockingly enough, write someone a letter and then send it to them in the mail. You talk about something that will astonish them, that would truly do it. You can also journal about it. You could make it something, telling about it can be for your eyes only. And it doesn't always have to be all the positive, pretty things going on. Maybe there are some things that you want to tell about that astonish you in maybe a not so great way. I think about what is going on in Gaza right now. And my pastor talked about that on Sunday, about, just how she felt like she hasn't been living up to how she feels about social justice. And that's one of the values at our church. And it really got me to thinking about the fact that I haven't been doing my part. And so part of telling about it, I journaled about it, and I'm like, how can I be a signal in the noise that's going on in our world today? And while I can't do anything about the, just the things that just break my heart. Just the fact that people are trying to get to food and are being gunned down. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. They're being gunned down trying to get food. That's all they're trying to do. And it just sickens me. And so telling about it, well, for me, I'm lucky. I have a podcast. I can talk about it here. I can have conversations with loved ones. I did, and I will, because it is a place for me to be able to use my voice, is on social media through Instagram. We need to become more uncomfortable and think about what we can do to make the world a better place. Because those instructions for living a life aren't always going to include all the happy things. Well, yes, there is a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot in what Mary Oliver said about the instructions for living a life by making sure that we are paying attention, that we are being astonished, and that we are telling about it. However, that can also go in the way of social justice and how we're seeing our world and how we want to make it a better place. They're really quite simple, these instructions for life. We just have a habit of complicating them. So thank you for dropping in for a listen today. If you enjoyed our time together this week, or if it's making you think about how you're viewing the world and your place in it, then the episode has done its job. If you feel like it's worthy of telling someone else about this episode or about this podcast in general, I'd love it if you would share it with even one person. Tell them to come and give it a listen next week, or go back and give this episode a listen. And positive ratings and reviews are how others find out about the podcast as well. So as always, thank you. Know how grateful I am for each of you who come in and listen each and every week. And until next week, let your adventure begin. Peace.